As chartered accountants, they have a great responsibility to ensure that the clients comply with the provisions of Equity Tax Law, including GST. And I am personally happy that the CAs have taken the GST very seriously. But wherever I go, I find lots and lots of CAs taking keen interest in GST and implementing the same for their clients. I am more than pleased. There is a need for such type of solutions to the clients. And the CAs have risen to the occasion and they are providing human service to clients. You must have been listening to number of sessions, talks, seminars, workshops on GST. By now you must be mentally fatigued to listen to one more session on GST. I can understand. Sometimes what happens is mental fatigueness sets in when you get too overdose of some material. So realizing this particular peculiar syndrome where you are likely to be in, I thought I will do something slightly different. Tax law has got two sides like a coin. The one side is the law, the interpretations, the judgments, the jurisprudence, the case laws. The other side is the implementation of this law to the facts of a particular case or a particular client. Both should exist and coexist together. One without the other will be disastrous. And what I intend to do today is to look at one side of the coin today, namely the law, the pure law in its pure form. How the jurisprudence is evolving or likely to evolve. And what are the pitfalls we should be careful when you are going to implement your GST to your accounts. Today, I do not intend to take you through the actual provisions of the law or the clarification issued by the government already on the point. I think all of you are intelligent enough to understand the basics of law and also the clarifications given by the government and various authorities. Today, I am going to present to you certain practical and really complicated issues. My voice is not audible? Is it okay now? Or without this, no, not working well? What? Not fine. Okay. So what I intend to do is, in the last 4 months after the GST are being implemented, what are the issues which came to us and where we struggled, worked very hard, day and night to find solutions. Without naming the clients, we will flag the issues. This will show what type of problems are likely to arise in the implementation of the GST. A minor change in the fact, how it can affect the interpretations. And if you don't notice that minute difference, you can actually land the client into deep trouble. So this session which I am going to have would basically cover the so-called pitfalls or the jurisprudence which is likely to evolve in this field of GST, and therefore I am assuming certain basic knowledge on the part of all of you on the GST, and I am going to the next level. And if you ever invite me next time, I would be talking much higher level. That is basically, if you say basic level and middle level and then the top level. So we are now in the middle level. And next time if you still call me, probably many of you may not call me again because you get bored. Another mental fatigue to hear Lakshmikumaran again. But if you still have the courage to call me again, then we will talk to a much higher level next time. With this introduction, I am going to start today's deliberations. Thank you once again for being here, and I am personally speaking very excited. And before I start, I want to introduce my colleague. Her name is Shweta. She belongs to your tribe. She is a chartered accountant. She is not a lawyer. Specifically, I chose her to come over here because lawyers will talk legal jargons, and then she will talk your language. But what I am going to do in the course of my sessions, I am going to pose some questions to her, which are not rehearsed, and she would answer. Then you will understand what level CS can go as far as the understanding of the interpretation of law. And that's the only reason why I wanted to showcase this chartered accountant and not a lawyer. I hope it is fine with you. And she has been with me about 7-8 years now. So what a person can do on interpretation of law within a span of about 7-8 years, what we are going to see that. Good luck to all of you. For the next 2 hours, I think you are destined to hear me. That's fine. And in the last about 10-15 minutes or so, we will leave it for the question and answer sessions. And the question and answer need not necessarily be to GST. It could be on a wide variety of law. You don't worry, I have not carried my books and all those things, don't worry about that. So I suppose we will be able to answer those questions. So with this introduction, I think we will start today's deliberations. The subject GST is very vast, and I am sure all of you want to hear everything today. But I would like to do justice to a particular topic and dive deep into the topic, and then see if we can take some birds from the bottom of the sea. If we can do that, then you can always multiply this in every other aspects of GST. Today I am going to spend most of my time on supply and on the classification and then fixing the rate. That's what I am going to do the full day. And then I am going to talk about anti-profiteering. That's one of the important aspects which I think all of you should know, because the government is now becoming more and more restless as far as the anti-profiteering branch of law. All of you must have memorized this particular supply definition, right? Supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal, made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course of furtherance of business. I think you must have memorized this particular definition many times. People must have read, and you must have also read several times. Because you read several times, obviously you will also memorize it. I just want you to know that this particular definition I am going to dissect different aspects, different angles, like a diamond from different angles. Look at it, you get dazzling. So we are going to do the same thing. I am going to do again and again and again. You will not get bored, I assure you. But different aspects we will talk about. You also know Schedule 1 The activity is treated as supply even without consideration. Schedule 2 is activities treated as supply of goods or services. Schedule 3, activity treated neither supply nor purchase. Apart from Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3, are there any items which would not come under the category of supply, which are not in Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3? That is what we are going to do. Today we are going to discuss, are there any items, goods or services, which will not be treated as a supply, even though they are not found in Schedule 3? And are there any goods or services which are not mentioned in Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 and yet may be treated as tax? So these are the two things I want to discuss. Now when you are going to talk to your clients with regard to the GST implementation or what exactly is going on in your mind? Systematically analyzing. If you want to analyze the actual understanding of that GST law, what exactly is going on in your mind? I want to picture it before you, and then we will divide each of those division in your mind separately. First question you will ask is, whatever the transaction is taking place, the transfer of goods or services taking place between two entities, will it constitute supply first? If it constitutes supply, then only go. If it does not constitute supply, matter ends. Nothing need be done. Therefore, the first question you are asking to yourself is, this transaction which you are now looking at, does it constitute a supply or not? Within the meaning of the GST law. If the answer is negative, shake hands, go home, nothing else. But if the answer is going to be yes, then you go to the next one. Next question you are going to ask is there any exemption for this particular supply? If it is so, stop. No further questions. And if the answer is no, it is not exempt, then you go to the next step. The next step we are going to ask is, this transaction is treated as a goods or treated as a service? You need to differentiate there at the point of time. If you know that the item in question is goods, no problem. If it is services, no problem. When I say no problem, at least to the bifurcation, if you know it very well. The minute it goes to the goods or services, then you go to the next question with regard to the applicable rate, the classification, where you should do it, etc., annection, etc. Same in the case of services. Once you go to the services, you will get into classification of services, where you will fall here or there, what rate to apply, etc. With the road conditions, all those things. That is the second. But there can be situations where you have bundle of goods and services, bundle of goods and goods, bundle of services and services. In those cases, then you have to sit down and then say, hey, hold on. Here is the bundling of goods and services, or goods and goods, services and services. Then how do I classify this mixture or the bundle? Then you need to understand what is composite goods, what is mixed supply, whether the composite supply or mixed supply. After analyzing composite supply or mixed supply, then you will determine that what should be the rate applicable for the whole bundle. Once you do that, next question I am going to ask is, what is the place of supply and who is the supplier? Once you know this, then you will know whether I am going to charge IGST or CGST, SGST, etc. So this is the thing which is going on in your mind. All I am trying to do is, I am now putting it in a line chart as to what exactly is going on in your mind before you advise a client on the question that tax is payable or not. Next could be valuation. Next is input credit. All those things. The next thing. If we can spend the next 2 hours only on this particular portion of GST, I think I have done my job. If you want to do the next line with regard to the valuation, other one is regarding the input credit, etc., it is going to take time. But I wanted to spend time on this because it is very fundamental and so many issues are posed with regard to this particular aspect. So I intend to spend the next 2 hours only on this particular aspect of this line chart. With your permission, I proceed further. Now, as I told you that today I am going to talk of complicated issues posed to us and how we found solution to those things. We'll now talk about a high C sales. Sir, I am not talking about normal trade transactions. Sir. I am A sold to B, B sold to C, etc., etc. But you don't require a lawyer to take place. So I will now introduce complication, go on complicating further and further. Is that fine with you? Or you are not ready for this type of Perfect. The interest lies only in complications, not in simplicity. Is it not? Simple problem we can do. So let us now talk about the high C sales. Before coming into this, let us look at the customs law. I hope you don't mind if I talk about customs also. No issue. I will talk about different branches of the law we will talk about. Customs law, what does it say? Where a person in Germany is making a sale to a person in India, say in Jaipur, and the Jaipur person imports the goods, he files a bill of entry, pays the custom duty, and then clears it. No problem. But when the Jaipur person, instead of importing himself, while the goods are in transit, he makes a further sale to a person in Delhi. If that is the position, then as far as the person who is buying the goods in Delhi from the person in Jaipur, he becomes the importer. For the purpose of discussion, if the transaction value between the German exporter and Jaipur importer is $100 or 100 euros, and the Jaipur importer has sold on high seas basis to a person in Delhi at $105, then the actual importer who files the bill of entry will be the Delhi person, and he will file a bill of entry for 105. Long time back, I argued a case before the Supreme Court saying that it should not be 105, it should be 100. They were almost agreeing, but last minute they said, no, Lakshmikumaran, there is some problem. Government says 105, we will be 105. That's fine. So now the law is settled that when the second importer who bought the goods high seal basis will be the person who will file a bill of entry, and he will pay the custom duty on the value of 105. The classification is very well known. They are not worried about it. Now coming to GST. Now why I am talking to GST today? Because when the goods are being imported, there is a basic custom duty which will be paid by the person applying the custom duty on the custom tariff act. That value is determined section 14. On that value you pay the custom duty. But apart from the custom duty, you have got a CV duty or additional duty. Section 35, 37, etc. now is a come. So therefore you have to pay that also. So therefore a person who is now going to import these goods, when he is going to pay the GST, because GST has to be paid as a CVT. When he is going to pay, as far as the person in Jaipur who imported the goods originally, wanted to import the goods, he is sitting in India. He makes a sale to person in in Delhi and he has a GST number. Now, should he pay GST and then the Delhi person should take the credit of the GST? What should be done with the question? Simple, is it not? After all, this question going to arise every time. So, how are you going to handle it? Now, this question came before the CBEC and CBEC clarified GST Council, and it says GST Council deliberated the levy of integrated goods and services tax on the IC sales. In the case of imported goods, the Council has decided that the IGST on the IC sales transaction on imported goods, whether one or multiple, shall be levied and collected only at the time of importation, that is, when the import declarations are filed before the customs authorities for the custom clearances and for the first time. Further, value additions occurring in such cases shall be forming part of that. So therefore, GST Council has clarified that for the GST purposes also, the first transaction will be ignored, second transaction will be taken, and the final person who imports the goods, he will file the bill of entry, he will pay the basic custom duty, he will also pay the GST, as IGST in particular case, and clear the cargo. That's fine. Now, as far as the first person is concerned, namely Jaipur person, he is happy, he doesn't have to pay anything, doesn't have it. But I am sure you would have incurred certain expenses for this transaction. Some phone calls, some transactions, some travel, etc., etc. There is a cost to it, and there is a tax paid on the various services imposed or imported by him. Whether those services and goods, GST paid on that, can you take credit or not? Because he is not paying the tax on this. So the minute you say that he is not required to pay the tax, well, you seem to be happy. The consequence of that whether he can take the credit of that particular inputs and input services which are used by him in providing an output, sale or supply of goods or services, can he take or not? Is the question. We will flag the question, we will answer them later. That's first. Now what happens? The same thing I just split it. The Jaipur person, suppose he imports the goods and stores in a customs bond. And when the customs bond he is selling to person in Delhi, then what happens? It can happen. It need not necessarily be because I see the goods are in the course of imports. You can actually import the goods, store it in the custom bond wherever you sell it. Now, as for the custom bond, if it is say, what should be the definition of custom bond? Now, let us understand what is meaning export of goods and import of goods. Export of goods, section 2.5 of the GST Law says, export of goods with its grammatical variations and cognate expressions means taking goods out of India to apply outside India. Second, import of goods with its grammatical variations and cognate expressions means bringing goods into India from applying outside India. Now, custom bonded warehouses are outside India or inside India. Now, it is custom bonded warehouses means before the goods actually reach the landmass of India, they are still bonded there. One way to look at it is, the custom bonded warehouses are not part of India in the sense the goods have not discharged the custom duties. Therefore, it is still to be supposed to be considered as a foreign. The other one is, why do you want to get it? As a matter of fact, the bonded warehouses are here. So therefore, the goods are stored here and accordingly, the goods have been imported already, but not clear. So, importation has taken place in the bond or not in the question. There are several sales tax judgments in the past on this particular point, etc. The in-bond transfers, etc., are not taxable, etc. Those things are there already. Now, yesterday, the CBEC has clarified that the first point where the goods are imported and bonded, and the in-bond sales take place, the Jaipur person must pay the GST because they are goods in India and that has to be put. And the person in Delhi, when he buys the goods from Jaipur, he would then get the IGST and pay the IGST whenever he make a further supply. This is what the clarification has been given. Though the clarification did not say about the credit portion, but they said there will be liable to pay the twice. This is what they have said. Now I am going to twist it differently. Suppose the person in Jaipur, these are all practical cases, no imagination. It actually happened, we have actually clarified those things, etc. in our office. The same person in Jaipur is a very entrepreneur, great entrepreneur. What he did was, he bought the goods from a person A in Switzerland and he sold the goods to a person in Netherlands. The good did not come into India. But he made a sale. It is possible. It is possible to make a sale in Jaipur. He can buy in Switzerland and sell in Netherlands. The goods not come and he says ship it directly from there. What will happen? Either a GST payable or not. Huh? No, why? So now according to you, the goods are not coming to India, it is outside India, the transaction takes place outside India, and therefore he doesn't have to pay anything. Correct? Perfectly, there's one way of looking at it. We will twist it a little later. Huh? The minute you do so, imagine all input credit without this transaction you cannot take. Obviously, you are not paying anything. That's not. Is that the way to look at it? Or is there any other complications can happen as far as this particular aspect is concerned? What are the other possible interpretations of it? Yes.
So, sir, what you said was a transaction wherein the goods do not enter the territory of India. However, the person, or I would say in this case, B being the first purchaser, is a person located in the territory of India. So to that extent, you were right in saying since the goods have not entered the country of India, therefore there should not be any GST levy. However, there is a complication to this, which is more like a legal jargon. May not be intended, but still, we can somebody can argue in these lines also. Now, under the IGST Act, there is a principle that whatever is not considered to be an intrastate supply is going to be an interstate supply. Now, under the IGST Act,
I don't know whether how we follow. The law, IGST law says, whatever transactions which are not intrastate will be deemed as interstate. That is the law. With regard to the transaction, we are now just now describing the Jaipur person buying in Switzerland and selling in Netherlands. Is it the intrastate supply in India? No. If it is not intrastate supply, what does it mean? It is interstate. If it is interstate, where is the supplier? Supplier is India. What is the place of supply? Place of supply in Netherlands, no? According to the definition, place of supply we are going to discuss now. Therefore, place of supply is Netherlands. So therefore, supplier is in India. Place of supply is in Netherlands. This transaction is not intrastate, therefore interstate, therefore pay GST. Simple. So now, you have advised the client, oh, the transaction outside, don't worry, etc., nothing to do. And 3 years down the line, officer comes and says, sir, now you have understood the GST law very well, is it not? You are experts. Now tell me, where is the place of supply? Where is the destined? Netherlands. Supplier who? Obviously, Jaipur man. Is it intrastate? No. Therefore, it is interstate. If it is intrastate, then where is the tax? You have to pay. This question will arise. Now, how do we get out of that? Is the question. Therefore, here, the section which says, in the GST law, that wherever a transaction is not intrastate, to be deemed as intrastate, you must add an exclusion. Imagine an exclusion not in the law, provided the transaction is within India. Then only it makes sense. The whole idea is they are talking about India conditions within these two states. If the transaction takes place, it is interstate. Within the state, if it takes place, it is intrastate. So, in order to define what is interstate, the legislature was having in mind all transactions within India. Within India, intrastate is CGST, SGST, interstate IGST. To say this, they put it. But they forgot that by doing so, you are actually getting a transaction between India and outside also as interstate. So therefore, we need to introduce a proviso, imaginary proviso into the law to make it workable that this particular transaction making outside, even though it may come technically in the meaning of the word interstate, actually it is not interstate, it is a transaction outside India. And how do you justify it? The justification is definition of IGST, I mean GST law, India, the whole law extends the whole of India. So therefore, from there you must pick up and then you import that into this definition of IGST, CGST and say this dichotomy is satisfied like this. This is simple. Whatever till now I told you is simple. Now I will complicate it further. Now, this Netherlands fellow who bought from Jaipur man, or Bangalore man, whatever it is, he now makes a sale to a person in Delhi. It can happen. Then what happens? Delhi man will pay the tax. No problem. Custom duty will pay. He will also pay a GST on the CVD portion. Value will be the price at which C is selling to D. Right. How many of you deal with customs in this audience? Can you raise the hands? Okay. Okay. So I take it majority of people do not handle customs. Majority, right? Almost all do not deal with customs. Should I talk about something about customs or not necessary? You need to know. Can you ignore that the branch of law? Have you noticed one thing? Excise may come, excise may go. VAT may come, VAT may go. Entity tax may come, entity tax may go. GST may come, I don't say GST go, you should not say. Something like that. But custom will go on forever. Remember that the Goldsmith's poetry, men may come and men may go, then it goes on forever. So, like this custom law will continue to be there. It is there from 1860, Sea Customs Act, then Indian Customs Act, and it will continue. And you as professional, when you are dealing with the clients, when it comes to the customs, you say, hey, I don't know customs, you go somewhere. It cannot happen. You have to deal with that. Once you have taken the bull by the horn, the tail you cannot say, I will not look at it. So you have to handle that. So for customs is one area where you just cannot ignore. And it has got its own complications and all the things, etc. You have not called me to talk about customs today. If you ever call me on customs, I will talk. And the beauty of this customs law, how it is interpreted, is so Customs Act in India was from 1860 and Indian Customs Act 1961. And the Customs Tariff Act, as of today, was in 1986. From 86 to 2017, how many years was it? 30 years old. Even today, after 30 years, our office handles one of the most complex classification issues on customs. Yesterday, before I left here, we had a question regarding an item in question would be considered as a plant growth regulator or a fertilizer. Both help the plants to grow. whether it's a plant growth regulator or a fertilizer, depending upon the custom duty base. And then if it is a fertilizer, then fertilizer control order, etc., all those things will apply. Then price control will apply, and the price fixtures will apply. All those complications are very many. Similarly, a person was importing an item for pesticide, but basically for dandruff, that comes under the category of pesticide, but he imported it at a level of 40% concentration, whether it be insecticide or a basic chemical. Big question. Difference is phenomenal. All of you do know what is T-shirt? T-shirt, sir? You know it or not? All of you know T-shirt. What is T-shirt is the big question. Can you believe that? Can you believe a T-shirt which all of us know what is T-shirt? Suppose you have a shirt with a collar, with the two buttons. It's a nice knitted shirt, which you call as a T-shirt, no? Nobody believed like this, and they paid the duty for several years. Customs and Commission says, no. T-shirt should not have a collar. It should have a V-neck only. It should not have a button. If it has a button, it's no longer a T-shirt, it is something else. Demand, put it to close. So therefore, the classification disputes with regard to the customs and consequently on GST is going to perennial. Let us not even imagine that problems are not there. The problems are going to be there for next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, it will continue. Rate difference is there in India, bound to be there because government cannot tax all goods at the same rate because the economic conditions the people are reducing. You just cannot afford to ask the poorest of the poor to pay the same rate as the rich of the rich because the GST is regressive law, not like income tax. So therefore, government has to necessarily differentiate the tax on goods and services which are used for mass consumption as well as constitutes consumption. So this rate difference will be there, the exemption will be there, etc. And because of this, definitely there is going to be huge amount of dispute, and all of you must learn the HSN fully. It is not a telephone number, 8-digit number. Telephone or 8-digit. So it's not like telephone number, it is number. Each sub-item, etc. must know so very well. Then only you can do full justice to it. Otherwise, we are pretending that we are providing solutions. We are pretending. You need to understand the classification. I spent last 40 years or so on classification. Several, I think probably we must have done more than 5,000 or 10,000 opinions, or more than 2,000 cases, arguing different cases. And luckily, I can say with all humility at my command, the classification opinion given by me has not been overruled by any court, even in civil issues. So thoroughly done. And it was done in such a systematic, scientific manner that every time the court says, yes, this is correct. I think God's good grace. But for understanding the classification, it was into technology. Without knowing the technology, if you attempt the classification, it is like blind leading the blind. Absolute chaos. So you need to understand the technology. You need to understand what a plant growth regulator, what exactly the difference between that and a fertilizer, how the plant grows in both. That differentiation you must know. Without that, you can't understand this. So therefore, I am not here to frighten you. I am here to enthuse you. That having done this much, do a little more. If you do a little more, you are able to provide a fuller solution to the client. After all, the client deserves your best solutions. So therefore, from now onwards, when you are going to implement GST, also take HSN and start studying them, understand. Very easily said. Very easily said. So now, as far as our transaction here, we are now talking about C being imported. When I was talking about the customs, why did I say suddenly about the customs, the two-month diversion? In US, is the same. Suppose India is now replaced as US. A person in Denver arranges a sale between Switzerland and Netherlands, and Netherlands party was exporting to a person in New York and just transporting. For the custom purposes in US, what should be the value? Is it the value at which C is exporting to the person in D in New York, or it will be the price at which B sold to C? In US custom law would say the penultimate transaction will be taken as the basis, not necessarily the final. There is a provision that the US customs law and to some extent European law. As far as Indian law is concerned, we talk about only the final transaction, not the penultimate transaction. So if you are going to help a client exporting goods from here to a person in the US, you can tell them that, hey, why are you asking the US fellow to pay the custom duty on your side, right? If you have bought the goods locally within India, your purchase price can become the basis for payment custom duty, and thereby the importer there can save taxes on customs. If you can give that extra opinion to the client, he will be delighted. He will be jumping with joy. So you need to understand not only the GST what you are now doing in India, not only the customs law is happening in India, also the customs law in other countries, how the valuation is being done, how the classification is being done, how the processing is being done. If we can understand all of them and then provide a solution, then it's works. Sir, even this GST is so complicated. With this we are struggling. You are now asking us to look at the customs law of India, other countries, their valuation, etc. How is it possible? Sir, to do simple things, there are many. To do complicated things, there are few. So you choose. You want to be a few or a many? Ultimately the question. Now I am going to get into a different subject matter within the supply. Suppose there is a person who has to supply gas or water, so let us say gas, from state A to state B. Say gain. They are laying down the pipe, or ONGC. They lay down the pipe. It has to go from say Gujarat to Madhya Pradesh or to Orissa. It has to cross 4 or 5 states. And the government lays down the route by which it has to go. It should not have mountains between it, security, so many things. And once they do, they have to pass through various lands. It is passing through your land, say in Jaipur. Outskirts of Jaipur, there is a land. The pipe has to go through your land. So therefore, the company comes and says, sir, I am mandated to dig your land and put the pipe underneath. Till such time may take about 2 months or 3 months. Thereafter you can put the mud on top of it and you can cultivate. No problem. But during that particular time of 2-3 months, you have to keep your pipe in a particular area and thereafter you can use it. For giving me the right to lay down the pipe underneath your land and also for stopping you from cultivation in that particular portion of the land for a period, I am prepared to give you X amount, say 10 lakhs rupees. And you receive it. Now, the gas company hasn't provided services to you, hasn't to pay any tax. What are the positions? Have you come across this type of problem, sir? Luckily, no, no. Now, why am I taking this? You may say, Lakshmikumaran is a one-off thing, it's a very rare thing, it's a why are you putting it? Once you know the interpretation here, you will apply it in several places. That is why I am doing it. My purpose is to take these type of examples to tell you that if you can understand the complication involved in this, how you can solve it in different ways. That's the question. Now, read the problem. He says the right of user laying a pipeline. Huh? Now let us now look at is it in furtherance of business? That is, the farmer has given the right to the person who is laying down the pipe and receives remunerations. Did he render this transaction, as far as farmer is concerned, does it become a supplier? This is the question. The farmer is doing the cultivation as the main business. This laying down the pipeline here, is it furtherance of his business or farming or not? If it is going to further the business of farming, then this will attract tax. If it is not furtherance of the business, then it's not a supply law. If it is not a supply, then the farmer will get the money and doesn't have to pay any tax on it. Correct? So therefore, the farmer, he never wanted to get into this business. Statutorily, the government said that you must lay down right through the line. You could not object, you got some money out of it, etc. His business is farming. His business is not letting out the land for this. So therefore, this does not constitute a supply, and therefore there will be no necessity for the farmer to pay any tax on it. Even though this particular amount, what he has received, say 40 lakh. So when I say 10 lakh, I say less than 20 lakh. So I will get out of it. Suppose he paid 45 lakhs for this particular transaction, even then this will not attract tax because it is not furtherance of his business. Now this particular thing you will not find in Schedule 2, Schedule 3, Schedule 3. So therefore, I am now giving you a concept that there will be transactions. The transaction of a particular nature, this transaction will not constitute a supply, and therefore the question of paying tax does not arise. This example I am giving it to you only to ask every time you are telling a client a particular transaction, does it constitute a supply or not? For this, what test you are going to do? That's what I am going to do.
And add one more dimension.
Yes.
Now, the example that you were taking was wherein, so the farmer was giving this right to the government.
To the pipeline.
To the pipeline.
Yeah.
Okay. So there can be a transaction wherein the right is given by the farmer to the government. So the government because under the law of sovereignty, it can definitely acquire this land. In this case, the government will not acquire the land, it will only get the right to lay this pipeline in that farm.
Okay, I think what Sweta is saying is she is going further twist to it. I do not know how many of you have followed the twist she is giving. She is asking me, all right, the transaction which you have mentioned is between the farmer and the pipeline laying through, say GAIL. Sometimes GAIL is not able to negotiate with the farmer. Farmer protest on this. So the government as a sovereign power, it enacts a law, an ordinance is put. This line is of national importance from place A to place B. It is going to go through the following farmlands, etc., for various places. Government, by its authority, acquires the right to lay down the pipe underneath the farms. And thereafter, it will give that right to the pipeline field, so that it becomes transaction neat and less controversies. She is asking, in that scenario, when the government acquires the rights from the farmer, and the same farmer got 45 lakhs for the particular right, and then the government is granting the right, further right, to GAIL for 50 lakhs rupees. Then what happens is the question. As the first transaction between the farmer and the government is concerned, it is still not in the furtherance of business of the farmer. As for the government to the GAIL, it is the furtherance of business of GAIL. And as for the transaction between government and this thing is concerned, it is the government is not doing it in the normal statutory function of police or army or foreign, etc. It is in the nature of the particular thing in the business. Government can also do the business. Now the transaction between the government and the GAIL is now taking place here, say 50 lakhs rupees. Government will not pay the tax. GAIL has to pay reverse charge.
So therefore, the second transaction will attract tax as reverse charge by the GAIL and not by the government, but the farmer will still continue to pay. This is what she was being interested. That is, the same transaction, in one, GAIL need not pay any tax. Other one, GAIL has to pay reverse charge tax. But then, somebody can ask a question. Sir, there is something called unregistered dealers. Any supply from unregistered dealer, other person must pay the reverse charge. Now it is exempt for some time, they can come back. So, farmer being unregistered dealer, the supply which was made, why GAIL should not be asked to pay reverse charge? If the exemption was not there. I don't know then, am I clear or am I going very fast? See, there was a provision where a registered dealer, if he is getting goods or services from unregistered dealer, unregistered dealer will not pay any tax, registered dealer should pay on reverse charge. Correct? This was the provision, temporarily been exempt because of hardship, etc. But temporarily exempt. That was March or something, etc. Thereafter it made right. Then the question is, Faita could ask me, in which case, for the second example you told, GAIL has to pay reverse charge. In the first example, you did not say, because farmer unregistered dealer, he is supplying this material and therefore he must pay the tax. Therefore, why are you not saying? That's what she asked. Answer to this question is, any supply of goods and services, any supply of taxable goods or services from an unregistered dealer to a registered dealer should pay reverse charge. If it does not constitute supply at all, the question of paying reverse charge does not arise. So therefore, I am right in saying in the first instance, neither the farmer nor the GAIL will be required to pay any tax. Whereas the second example, farmer will not pay the tax, GAIL will pay the reverse charge. Oh, too complicated, no? Life is not simple. No? These are all, sir, I'm a trailer. The real film is coming now. Just you can understand the type of complication we handle. And for these things, I gave a solution to you in 2 minutes. We must have spent hours and hours in our office arguing and ultimately come to the particular conclusion like this. You may say you are very slow, you are very fast. But to get to that solution, it takes that much time. Yes, sir. Huh? What is it? So all those things, tolerating activity, etc., must contribute to supply now. See, anything, you cannot levy tax under the GST unless there is a supply. A tolerating an activity must constitute supply. For example, if I am the managing director of a company and if the board wants to get rid of me and they come and tell me, sir, I am going to pay you 5 crores rupees, please go home. Then I tolerate the act, but this constitutes supply of services. So if it constitutes supply, then all those things will apply. If this does not constitute supply because it's not furtherance of a business, for the management it becomes business. So if it does not constitute supply, then all those definitions, Schedule 1, Schedule 2, etc. will not apply. Therefore, the first question to be considered is whether it constitutes supply, whether it is in furtherance of business or in the course of business. That's the question to be answered. Now, let's talk about a company, or I think lot of ladies are here. So they wear jewelry for some time, and then they get bored with the jewelry. And they go to a party, and then they find other ladies are wearing the latest modern designer jewelry. So they feel that what am I doing in the last? My grandfather gave something to me, and then father gave something, etc. They're all looking so old, and I don't like this thing. So she goes to good jeweler, and she says, "Sir, I am going to give my gold jewelry to you with all those pearls and beads, etc. This does not look nice. So now I want you to exchange, get modern designer jewelries." Then she gives. Suppose say the value of the jewelry is about say 2 crores, and she gives that. Is she supplying or not? Because barter is considered as a sale, as a supply. The barter thing. Assuming that's not a barter. She says, "I am getting of the jewelries. I want to buy land, etc., etc. There's much more paying. So this jewelry I want to sell." She sells it. When she sells this jewelry to the jeweler, and she collects 2 crores rupees for this, is the tax payable or not? It can happen. I did not give 20 lakhs. Then you will be the exempted. Therefore, I want to stop that particular argument. Suppose she gets 2 crores of rupees for the old jewelry, then what happens? Whether in a situation of this nature, whether she has to pay tax or not. Answer is no. Why? The why is, it is not a supply, it is not furtherance of business. Her business is not this. Buying and selling of jewelry is not her business. So therefore it is a one-time sale which has happened, and therefore this does not constitute supply, therefore she is exempt. So also the jeweler need not pay a reverse charge because it is not a supply. Suppose there is a old machinery and a company wants to modernize, and therefore they want to get rid of the old machines, components, etc., and then buy new one. This will constitute supply or not? Yes, it will. Because in a business, when you are shedding the old one and buying a new one, modernizing, etc., is normal course of business. So therefore, this will constitute business. The same old jewelry for a lady is not called supply. The same old machinery by a company will be constitute supply. Then this is a very interesting question which arises. I think I'll read the circular and then I'll give the answers. To clarify interstate movement of goods like rigs, tools, spares and goods on wheel like cranes, not being in the course of furtherance of supply of the goods does not constitute supply. What does it mean? See, I do not know. If you have to define a word, how do you define a word? In fact, this question came for discussion in Adi Shankara. Some of the disciples said, "Sir, we must define God." Actually, there are 40 pages discussion on this, full Sanskrit. Today I'll give a small glimpse of that. Adi Shankara said, "Yes, it's a very good thing. We must define God." And before that he said, "Let's define definition. Once you define the definition, then we can do all this." They said, "Yes, it's correct. Like a logical way of doing it." So what is the definition of a definition? How do you define a definition? A word has to be defined. After 30, 40 iterations, they came to the conclusion. A definition of a word is to give all the attributes of the word without using the word. Correct, man? If you are going to use the same word in discussion, very beautifully said. So therefore, you give all the attributes of the word without using the word. If you say that is called definition. Agreed. For this discussion went on for about 30 pages. So definition is ultimately. Then he said, "Now let us define God." Now the attributes of God. 1 crore, so this, 100, 200, 300. He said, "Oh, like maybe something more." All right, something more. Then when they came to the conclusion that you are not able to do all attributes, only some attributes, so therefore God cannot be defined by the definition of this definition. So therefore, it is not possible to define law, but you can feel. You don't understand, but you know. There is a difference between knowing and understanding. For example, my wife, if I ask, I know her, I know her. If I ask, understand her, I don't know her. I don't think, it's a bit same India. You know India, do you understand India? I don't think. It's very multicultural, multi-people, very complicated. The country is very complicated. So you can't understand this law, this country, but you know it. I am proud to be, this is the land mass, etc. So that you know. So therefore, now you see the definition now. To clarify interstate movement of goods, like rigs, tools, spares and goods on wheel like cranes, not being in the course of another supply of such a good does not apply control. So there is a clarification. Have you understood what is it? This is the classical way of not defining, not only defining it. Classical way. But the government has done it, GST Council has wisdom, so we cannot question them. Oracle has spoken. So therefore now we must understand it. So what exactly they are trying to say is this. Not being in the course of another supply of goods does not constitute supply. Is it not? So what they are trying to say is, when I am having a tool or a rig, I am stock transferring it from my place to another place for the purpose of interstate movements. They are not meant for further sale. They are going to be used for repairing of my own goods or for stock transfer and keeping there. There being no further economic activity from that place, this does not constitute supply. So they want to say that in an inelegant way or elegant way, they have put it like this. What they are trying to say is, when I am transferring from here to another place, for example, my household goods, I want to transfer from Delhi to Chennai. Interstate movement is taking place. It's not interstate. Transaction is going, I am making payment, somebody is asking me, etc. For giving a service, for my transaction of movement of the goods from my home to this place, etc., is it in furtherance of any business of mine? If there is no furtherance of supply or furtherance of business here, this does not constitute supply. That is what they are trying to say. That is, clarify interstate movement of goods like rigs, tools, spares and goods on wheels like cranes, not being in the course of furtherance of supply of goods does not constitute supply. So this is the one which is now trying to say. Now for example, here another law which says, if person A has got another registration in another state, they are two distinct persons, then Schedule 1 says, even when there is no consideration between two parties of the same entity, it's still a consideration. You must pay the GST supply. So therefore, where there is a transaction between person A and his branch office in, say, Chennai, even though there is no consideration for this, Schedule 1 says it's deemed supply. Correct? Same thing happening here. The tool grains are moved from place A to place B. Interstate movement is taking place. There is no consideration for this. Yet here the government clarifies it does not constitute supply. So where is the dichotomy? Where the Schedule 1 says it is a supply, the clarification does not supply. Where is the dichotomy? The dichotomy is here. When I manufacture cars in Maruti in Gurgaon, and when the cars are being stock transferred from here to their depot in Chennai for further sale from there, then this constitutes supply. Why? Because it is in furtherance of my business. So therefore, even though there is no money consideration flowing from stock transfer from here, for facilitating the transfer of credit, the law says it is a supply, a deemed supply, accordingly pay the tax and clear. Whereas in this particular case, since there is no further supply from there is no economic benefit arising therein, therefore this does not count as supply, you don't have to pay tax on it. So this is subtle difference. The subtle difference I am trying to point out is this. Oh, it's already 11:11. I don't know. So don't worry, if I don't complete my slides, don't cry. Whatever we do justice to them. I think that is better than, is it not? I can go on talking for the full day, then we must also get bored. So whatever is possible we'll try, but whatever we do is a good job on this. Now, job work. I supply certain goods to a person who does job work and return back to me. If that is the case, when I supplied a machinery to a person for painting and he painted and supplied back to me, the supply of machine to him, does it constitute supply or not? There is a movement of machines from here to the job worker. Job worker did the painting and gave back. He used his own paint, etc., machine gun, etc., all those things. So now I supplied the machine. There is a movement, the interstate movement, let us say. If this constitutes supply, I must pay the tax first. Then the job worker must take the credit of this, add its value, and then supply back. Is it what is contemplated in the job work? In the SOL, excise law, what are the position? In the excise law, whenever a person supplies the goods on job work basis, then he need not reverse the credit, or he can reverse the credit and send it back. Send it to the job worker. Job worker, when he does the job work and supplies back, if the job work constitutes manufacture, then he must pay the duty not only in the job charges, but also on the intrinsic value, including the value of material supplied. That is a famous case, Ujagar prints, where a person supplied the grey fabric and then the processor did the bleaching, dyeing, printing, returned it back. They argued, we will pay excise only on the job charges. Supreme Court said no, Constitution Bench said no. It is the intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is not job charges alone, it should include value of the goods. Whether that law will apply today or not is the question. If what was supplied from here, the same grey fabric, if it is constituted supply, then I must reverse the credit or pay the tax. The job worker will include value and pay the tax. Whereas this particular transaction, which I am supplying him from here to job worker, on this grey fabric, it doesn't have any economic benefit. He cannot resell the fabric. He cannot do anything with the fabric. There being no economic benefit to him on this particular transaction, and since he is not paying to me, therefore this supply of material, namely grey fabric to him, will not constitute a supply. Therefore, there is no necessity to pay any tax. What he supplies is job charges. The services he is rendering service, he will pay tax on it, which I can take credit here back. So therefore, this is the fundamental difference in excise law and the GST law. As far as the first transaction is concerned, even though the movement is taking place from place A to place B, named job worker, it will not attract tax. Now what happens when I am supplying to my own warehouse or my own place for the purpose of repair and sending it back? It happens. For example, all telecom companies, they have various towers in all over places. Each tower has got a generating set. Generating set may get defective. You'll all go to a place for repairing. You'll go repair and go back again. So there is a central place where the repairing takes place. It may be a different state. The generator will go there, repair and go back, etc. Here it does not go to third person as job worker. You go to the same person. Now what happens in this particular case? Because there is a transfer between two entities, different entities, no transaction, even then it is going to be a supply under the definition should be one. Whether this will constitute supply or not. Am I going fast? Very fast? Is it okay? Speed is fine? Huh? So then, all I am trying to do is the dichotomy between Schedule 1 and the supply. That's what I am trying to resolve. I mean, all of you, I hope you are noticing this. I am now trying to find out that what is the dichotomy between the definition as contained Schedule 1 and the pure definition of supply. I am bringing economic concept as a concept, and then we say, in this particular case, transcendental apply. That's what I am trying to say. As far as the first supply is concerned, even though it will be distributed distinct persons, etc., there is no economic benefit on the generator. Only the job charge alone will be taxed. This is interesting, very interesting. If we can cover this and then if we close, I think I have done the job. I don't know whether anti-profiteering will cover or not. I'm sorry, sir. You people gave me 2 hours time. You thought this will do a complete thing for me. And this man has not even charted even further about other letters. It doesn't matter. I'm very slow for this. That's the only problem. You have chosen a wrong person to come and talk to you. You are not even the right person. Whole day. There will be a whole day here. There will be no WHO, there will be a whole HOI level, nobody will be here. That's it. What is that? Interpretation. That's it. One WHO is extra, that's all. Otherwise everything is fine. Now, that's the case of an aircraft. Aircraft engine. Aircraft engine is becoming defective. Jet Airways or Go Air or whatever. The repairing is not able to be done here because we don't have the facility. So it goes back to Airbus in France. They get repaired and sent back. Now what is the treatment? These are the complications. When the engine went from here, it is an export, it import. So, there is no foreign exchange coming. So, on the Reserve Bank, you get a GR waiver. So, from GR waiver, you file a shipping bill, it goes, engine number, chassis number, etc. known, it goes, and the person repairs and sends it back. Repair charge is $2 million. It comes back. When it enters the customs, what does the custom officer do? Custom officer says, sir, the goods are being imported. When the goods are being imported, now you see again I am talking about customs. Though you didn't want to hear, because the entire crowd only 1% raised the hand of customs. Now I am dealing with the customs. You can't escape. You are dealing with GST. How can you say, no, this I will not. Like Vishwamitra said, no. When Menaka came to seduce him, he said, no, I will not. Ultimately, he got a child. So therefore, you can't tell the client, so I will not deal with customs. You will have to ultimately deal with it. So, as far as the goods are coming in, the custom officer says, whether the goods are sold, whether it's given free gift, or on leasing, or repair, free, temporary imports, I am not concerned. Act of importation of goods will attract custom duty, pay the custom duty. He says yes, sir. So basic custom duty has to be paid. Regardless of the fact whether the good there is a value or not, whether it is being paid or not, etc. etc. Correct? Once it comes here, basic custom duty will be levied. For levying the custom duty, there is an exemption, which says when the goods are going out for repair and coming back, once you identify the original commodity, and if you don't have a drawback of the duties paid at the other export, etc., then paying custom duty, you don't have to pay the full intrinsic value of the engine. It's enough if you pay custom duty on the repair charges plus the to and fro freight charges. So therefore, basic custom duty is taken care. No problem. Now comes my GST, CVD portion. CVD portion, custom officer says, sir, I don't understand your GST and all this. I am a custom officer, I have been trained to levy duty on goods. The goods are coming. While the exporter was exporting service only to you. So, in effect, you are importing the service of repairing. Correct? So, GST will be paid on the repair charges. Has to be paid. There is no question. There is no escape. Am I right? Because I am importing the service of repairing of the engine. Therefore, the charges charged by the engine repairer, the importer of the airline has to pay the GST. There is no escape on that. Having paid the GST, the custom officer says, forget about this. As far as there are goods with me. So therefore, GST you pay as goods. Yes, sir. GST law says very clearly, it is not treated as goods. Schedule 2 says very clearly, this shall be treated as service. So Schedule 2, good. Our custom officer. I see the goods. I don't see the repair duty. The goods. For the basic custom duty, there is an exemption, repair charges. For GST, there is no exemption for me. Therefore, the goods are coming to me, you pay the full value of the goods. But GST officer says, the custom officer can do anything, sir. I am not concerned. You have reported the repair engine. Therefore, you have to pay taxes on the repair charges, you pay GST. Sir, I am not telling a fiction. Real thing. Now, I'll add to the further complication. All of you will say, sir, why are you worried, sir? Pay the GST, forget about it, take the credit and be done it. Why fight? Lawyer to Juram. You keep the lawyer out. We want to be friendly with the department. You let him pay GST also, goods, let him pay service also. How does it make a difference? So long as the person can take the credit, why are you worried? Am I right, sir? You will ask me a question or not? Why are you Lakshmikumaran company who based on very high fees, sir? Don't go to them, sir. They are very complicated. So they will like in the next 5 years, 10 years, they will complicate it. But then, you give an advice like this, he is also happy. Then you will find that the service tax they have to pay on transport of passengers, it is 5% on condition you cannot take input credit on goods. So therefore, if we take credit on the engine as goods, which the custom officer has agreed, he loses 5% credit, will be 18%. 18% tax on all the passengers, etc. is gone. The airline will never survive. Thanks to you. Thanks to you. By allowing him to take the credit on the engine, we have grounded him permanently. So therefore, there is a need to enter into an argument and prove that the GST payable on the import is not on goods but on services only, and service tax paid can take credit because there is no embargo. If they got taken service tax credit for paying 5% tax in the passenger crisis, only good tax you cannot take. Now, we think the GST law is simple. We have complicated beyond repair. So now, when you are going to fix the rate of duty on rate of tax on the finished goods or finished services, based on the fact that you cannot take credit on the inputs, you cannot take input services, you cannot take on capital goods, etc., then you have to be extremely careful in advising the client as to how you should treat this particular thing. Am I right? So, I am only flagging these types of issues. Now this one. Now let us take the case of aircraft. A company in India would buy aircraft as lease because they want to keep the fleet very young. If you buy the aircraft, they are stuck with you for 20-25 years. But if you come it on lease, 6-7 years later, you can return the aircraft, buy another one, get another one. It also becomes easier for them. They don't have to block the capital. This is available as a credit, and then leaseholders also can claim income tax. Everything is neat and clean. So the service is beautifully structured by you. Perfect. The aircraft comes, it's on lease. When an aircraft comes on lease, basic custom duty, on aircraft is exempt. CVD, no exemption. So aircraft has to pay 18% as goods. After paying that, no credit because then 5% is. Just imagine what will happen to the airline. He is dead on the day one. So now you have to argue when the GST law schedule 2 declares certain item as deemed as services only, it is not only for the GST but also for the legal CV duty. Then you get into the argument. So now listen to me very carefully. Very carefully. The CV duty that is being levied under section 37 of the Custom Tariff Act by the customs, is it traceable to Article 246A of the Constitution, or is it traceable to entry 83 of the Union List of the Constitution? The solution lies there. You will not find an answer in your GST law. You will never find answer. You have to go to the Constitution again. This CV duty section 37 levied by the customs, under, of course all of you know, under the Constitution you got Union List, State List and the concurrent list. Custom duties are being levied under 83 of the Union List. Only Parliament has the levy power to levy. This CV duty which is being levied, is it a levy under 83 of the Union List or the newly enacted section 246A, where the center of the state has the concurrent power to levy the tax on this? If it transfers to 246A, then custom officer cannot levy the tax as goods under entry 83, but he can levy only as services under 246A. Our custom officer says, I don't understand 246A. Somebody has to make him understand. You can't afford to ask the company to pay the tax as goods. He is dead. So therefore, necessarily courts have to intervene and clarify what exactly is the position. I am giving example of an aircraft. It could be a machinery, it could be anything. All those items which are going to be imported by the companies as lease charges, they are having a huge problem with customs services. Sir, I hope, is it okay, sir? My example is too complicated or something which advice is fine with you? No? At least you will know. Till now, see what happens. I always give this example. This gentleman invited me to his house for dinner. I went, had dinner. After that, I wanted to washroom. He said, sir, go to my bedroom, there is a washroom there, you can wash. I washed. I came out. While coming out, I saw some black little thing on one of the legs of the cot. So I went nearby and then saw. It looks like a snake, but I was not sure. So I came back and told my friend, sir, in your bedroom, I thought I saw a snake. He said, no. I'm on 11th floor, no snake, and what are documents? We go check. So this fellow went, I also went along with him. Put a torch and saw. Actually, it was a snake, a black snake, and it was going down. Then the servant, he comes. Sir, this I am seeing last 4 months. So it is there. You have been sleeping here only, sir, till now. You don't worry. Today also you sleep today, nothing will happen. Can you sleep? See, when you did not know, you were merrily sleeping there. But once this fellow Lakshmikumaran came and told you there is a snake there, even though it was not doing anything last 4 months, if you have the courage to go and sleep, please. Same in the position. Today, we are advising clients without knowing there is a snake. And then, after 3 years, 4 years, The snake charmer. That fellow comes. Here, come on. GST fellow, audit. For him, we are looking for which snake. Then he's hey, there's a snake here. Then there is a demand, 4 years, demand 5 years, penalty, transaction, suppression, demand, etc. The client comes and tells you, Bhaiya, kya kar raha hai? He says, I also do not know, sir. So both of them go to jail simultaneously. What else? So after all, for nowadays, for so-called tax evasion, apart from the penalty prosecution also there. So the prosecution, the client will say, sir, why don't you give me company there also? See, the responsibility of an advisor to advise a client is very, very high. It is not about the fees the person is paying. It is responsibility to discharge. So, if you think I came to frighten you, no, that's not my idea. My idea is to caution. There are several situations where you never know there is a problem. All I am trying to say is touch points where there can be problems. You may not know the solution, sir. Don't worry about it. Solution we can always find. Problem we must identify. When you don't know how to identify the problem, that is the real problem. So, you as advisors to the clients must know where the problems are. For solution, if I go to Lakshmikumaran or somebody, etc., I am not saying, I did not come here to advertise for myself. That's not the idea. God has been kind, given enough work. We don't know how to handle the existing work which we have, etc. So that's not the problem. The problem is to caution you that these type of small things which you don't look at it properly, it can land the client with repeatable, and then you will feel terrible. I mean, for me, if because of me the client has come to a grievance, I don't think I can sleep. I am so sensitive. That is why I think I sleep very less, because I work for the client so much. So I am reconciled with 3 hours sleep for the last 30 years. I am fine. But because you are so sincere in providing the private solutions. Now this is another big animal, IPR. Now, can I ask a small question? How many of you in this August gathering know about patents? What is a patent? On what it will be given? To whom it will be given? What are the rights under the patent law? It's a negative right or positive rights? And what exactly is the meaning of the licensing? And what constitutes assignments? What constitutes licensing? And what exactly is the patent? How many of you know, sir?
Legal definition.
Global. I'm happy with the candid answer. Correct answer. They are not, at least between you and me, you cannot pretend. If somebody says, I know patent, I will ask this question. Then you will not know, then immediately you know what it is. So it's better to accept what you don't know. As a lawyer, it is very easy for me to find out whether the client is telling the right or not. When I ask a question, you will answer as a next question I will follow you. Then I will tell him, sir, that's why they say, you are a doctor and a lawyer, you be naked. You cannot afford to tell wrong things or not correct things. If you go to a doctor and then, sir, I must conduct surgery on me with my suit only. What does the doctor say? Sir, you take care of your suit. I can't take care of you. You have to necessarily completely become naked. I will give you, if necessary, some hospital clothes. Then you come to the paper. Is it not? So, same thing in the case of a lawyer. When you are taking the position of an advisor, therefore they must not tell you. Now I am telling you about IPR. A huge issue. Now, if we don't understand what is a patent, what is the design, what is geographical indication, what is the patent protection, what is the trade secret, Do you think we can provide solution to the client, sir? In the GST? Is it not necessary? GST, the mother of all laws. The mother of all laws. You need to know so many laws before you touch this particular animal called GST. It has got different legs. Called Sahasranam. Sahasra Sirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapath. When the Purushottam, when it takes, it talks about this. Sahasraksha Sahasrapath. So it talks about Brahman as one which is having thousands of hands and thousands of legs and thousands of ears, etc. So the GST is like Sahasrapath. So you need to understand so many things before you tackle. Now let us now give you, without knowing that, because I can't conduct a class on patent. Do you know, our office, we have got a separate patent division, or IPR division, about 110 scientists, engineers, technocrats, postdoctorals working with us on patents, on designs, on biodiversity, etc. And I handle those things hands-on. So most of you may be thinking Lakshmikumaran means GST karta or custom law karta. Many people don't know that to do this, I have to do all those things. So unless I am comfortable in technology, I don't think I can do commodity taxation. Commodity taxation can be done only when you know technology very well. If you do not know the technology, if you are averse to it, some people are averse. What is the difference between a polymer blend and copolymers? When two or more monomers are polymerized simultaneously as a copolymer, and two or more polymers are blended to the call polymer blend, the rate of tax, these two are different. You know, you are hearing first time called a monomer. What is copolymerization? What happened to copolymerization? Homologing take place or not, etc. Unless you understand polymer science so well, if you don't understand the copolymerization, I don't think you can provide a solution to that. Is it? He also says something, he also says something, etc. So therefore, learn the technology when you are dealing with commodity taxation. I think next time when I come, there will be nobody here. Nobody will be here. What is it? No. Sir, when I say that you can't do full justice told by technology, and then somebody are averse to technology, so then what will do? So we will do something else. They will do GST, but not talking to Lakshmikumaran. That's the way they will. In any case, with regard to the IPRs, they are all called what are called negative rights. If I come with an invention which is novel, which is not obvious to ordinary persons, and is of industrial applications, I can claim a patent on that. A person who invented remote control, he had a patent. He became a billionaire. Today, remote control is what not only for TV, for everything it is being used. Person who thought, I can give a command through infrared rays. Never imagine. The person who invented Bluetooth became a billionaire. Is it not? The person, Graham Bell, who invented electricity, the phone, he became a billionaire. He became a Nobel laureate. Now, these types of inventions, the inventor gets the right, called patent right, by which he can prevent others from using, dealing, selling, or offer for sale or import. These are negative rights given. He can give those rights to you on a permanent basis or a temporary basis, either on a lease or on assignment. If it is an assignment, it is a sale. If it is a lease or license, it is if ownership still with him, he is allowing you to use, called right to use. The concept of right to use and the concept of transfer of right to use are two different things. I am giving you the right to use. It's different from saying I am giving transfer the right to use. And there are several case laws on the subject. What is giving of the rights, what is transferring the rights? They are two different concepts. If I assign this particular thing, the normal thing is it is considered as what is known as sale. If it is a sale, attraction will be different. But if it is going to be a transfer of right or giving of the right, then it will come to a different category. The board is now clarified permanent transfer of technology, technical intellectual property, other than information technology software, attract GST 12%. So therefore, even when there is a permanent transfer of the patents or the IPRs, so long as it is not as software, the rate of tax will be 12%. Now, software per se can have several varieties of IPRs. I'm just giving you a very short explanation. Software is protected under the IPRs as a copyright because they protect the expression. If I write a novel, on the novel I have the copyright. For example, I can write Ramayana myself. When I write Ramayana, Lakshmikumaran's Ramayana, I have the copyright. The story is still Ram came, he married Sita, he went for, all the story is same. Valmiki invented the story, he gave his own sloka, Tulsi Ramayana came, Kamba Ramayana came, so many other Ramayana came. So they are not violating copyrights of Valmiki. If they copied the sloka, then it's a violation. If you are merely taking the ideas and then putting your own expression, it's not a violation, it's not a copyright violation. I'm sorry, whenever I get into that, I get into so many other things. Now, as far as software is concerned, it is protected by the copyright. It has also right under patents. For example, if I take a phone and then you press, you see the image, you turn it, it also turns. For you, it is so easy. No? You take it for granted. The person who first of all made the picture to turn according to your eyesight must be genius. Is it not? Now, he did it through what? Through a software. But the software had a technical effect of turning the image according to the eye contact. This nobody did it in the beginning. One person did it. So therefore, even though it is a software, it has got technical effect of turning the picture according to the eyesight. Therefore, it gets a patent also. So now, there is a patent, there is a copyright, and he can also claim a design on the way in which the figure will appear. Now, out of this, the clarification says, transfer of IPR, other than the software, will attract 12%. Now, the software itself has got a bundle of rights. One of the right is a patent, one of the right is the copyright, another right is this. But a software producer can actually license the software per se for you to use. The software it is given to you for you to use, that will attract 18%. But the patents in the transfer, if I transfer it 12%. I know I am complicated. What I am saying is, this clarification says, whenever there is a transfer of right in a software per se, it will attract 18%. But other than the transfer of software, if you transfer the IPRs, that will attract 12%. So therefore, if I transfer the IPRs in the software alone, it will attract 12%. If I transfer right to the software itself, it will attract 18%. So therefore, can you afford not to know various patents and trademarks in the copyright or the software? Can you afford? So you need to understand the implications related to what exactly the transfer of the IPRs in a software and transfer of software itself. may not be able to do anti-profiteering today. No? You don't mind, no? All of you know very well the anti-profiteering, right? So I don't think I have time today to discuss. So I must respect the time. I think 12 o'clock I must stop, right? So I got another 14 minutes or 13 minutes. Let me see whether I can cover this. So we have now come to in the original chart, we came to up to this point. We came up to supply, exempt, goods or services we dealt with, whether it is the lease is a goods or service, etc., which we did. Now we are now getting into the composite supply, mixed supply. This is what we are now going to do. All of you know our GST law introduced two concepts called composite supply and mixed supply. And this perhaps is one of the innovations of the legislations. The only aim seems to be to enrich the chartered accountants and lawyers. That is, I don't think there is any other reason which I can think of. I think one good reason should be that all of you must be fully enriched. Now why am I saying this? The classification of the goods for the purposes of GST is based on HSM. HSM has its own interpreted rules as how to classify the goods. If the goods are specifically covered in a particular heading, it will go. If the goods are supplied in sets, what will happen? If they are composite goods, what will happen? If they are supplied in sets, what will happen? If it is a mixture, what will happen? For each one of them, there is a specific rule of interpretation under the HSM, which has been going on for the last 30 years. And GST law adopted that particular thing as such. So therefore, when the goods or services are being supplied, then all you need to do is apply the rules of interpretation. Now, you introduce a new one called a composite supply. If the items are supplied in a composite nature, according to the law, GST law, then you go what is the principal supply and accordingly you charge tax. It applies so simple, man. Very simple. Let me complicate it, as I normally do. All of you know, you can say Lakshmikumaran, Mr. Complication. You can put my name like this. I say, when I supply a car and a refrigerator at a bundled price, will you call it as a composite supply or mixed supply?
Mixed supply.
Huh? Mixed supply. I am laying a trap. All of you, I am warning you before I answer this question. I am warning you that I am laying a trap, and you are quietly falling into it. So, first question is, when I am supplying a car and refrigerator for a bundled price of 10 lakhs rupees, is it a mixed supply or a composite supply? My friend here says it is a mixed supply. Though he did not read the reasons, I will give the reason, what he has in mind. Normally people don't sell the car and refrigerator together. Normally car is sold along with the car, maybe the toolkit etc. may come along with that. But refrigerator and ours are supplied along with it. Therefore, it is not normally supplied like this, therefore it is not a composite supply or mixed supply. Am I right, sir? Did it go in your mind like this? Very good. All right. What is it? Pardon?
Intention of supplier is also important.
Yeah. Intention of the supplier. He Navaratri time or Diwali time, the seller says, I am going to sell the car along with the refrigerator for the 10 lakhs. He gives a massive advertisement. But my friend says it is a mixed supply because it is not normally sold like this. Alright, when you buy a cellular phone along with the charger in the same packet, you pay single price is paid. your Apple 10. Pay 1,10,000 rupees you bought along the charger. Is it a composite supply or a mixed supply, sir? Huh? Composite supply. Why, sir? Because it is normally sold like this, etc. It is accepted principle in the trade to buy like this. So now if it is a composite supply, according to the interpreted rules, you must know the principal supply what it is. Principal supply is that which dominates in the entire supply. What dominates? So, are you buying the iPhone 10 for the charger or for the phone? There is no doubt. Therefore, for the phone, therefore the entire thing does the phone. No problem at all. With respect of this car and the refrigerator, he says it is a mixed supply. If it is a mixed supply, what happens? The law says, understand, unbundle the mixed supply, find out rate of tax for each of the item, find out the highest rate, apply that for the whole thing. That's the law. So the refrigerator also will cover under the rate of car, because car rate is high. It is not through the route of mixed supply or composite supply. Through the mixed supply route, you come this way. Now, if you look at the interpreted rules under the HSL, if the car and the refrigerator is sold separately, I mean as a bundle price, how will they classify? These are questions. Sir, we are experts in GST. We are not experts in HSL. Why are you unnecessarily again and again putting HSL? That's what he is asking. Now the question here is, whenever items are sold like this, there is the intention of the party to supply two goods under a single price. If so, then unbundle the price, not unbundle the classification of goods. What I am trying to say is, I can sell a house and a car for a bundled price, but when the tax rates are different for a house and in the car, you chartered accountant know how to unbundle a portion value for this, a portion value for this, and charge tax separately. It is not as though every time there is a bundled price, you must apply these interpretive rules or your composite supply, etc. If the intention of the party is to supply two goods with a combined price, that doesn't mean that it is a composite, it has to be necessarily a composite price or a mixed supply. Need not. Actually, as my gentleman said here, the intention of the party is to supply two goods. Price is same, one single price. Therefore, you unbundle the price, not unbundle the classification. That is the way in which I think before therefore entering into the question whether the item in question is the composite supply or mixed supply, you must ask this question. Sir, I go and buy a suit. When I bought the suit, I got outside is a woolen, inside jacket is silk lining, there is a button and there is a stiffener here, there is non-woven fabric here. All other are there. Did you buy mixed supply or composite supply, sir? Huh? Sure. Composite supply. Are anybody any contradictions? Is there when I bought a suit with all these items attracting different rates? According to my friend, it is a composite supply. What about you, sir? Huh? Can a tailor supply butter separately, sir? No. Or a zip separately? No. Here it is. It is a single product. There is no composite supply here. The product is a suit. The suit will come along with this. The price is paid with the suit. There is a classification for the suit. There is entry called 6301. Pay tax, somebody, full stop. Then you don't ask a question in the particular item, what is the, that's why I lay a trap. I asked a question, is it mixed supply, something, we all have a fill. You should simply say, no, there is neither composite nor it is a good as per se. So therefore, application of this rule called a composite supply or mixed supply is not that simple. Or straight away you go jump into that. You will jump into that like Abhimanyu. You will not even know how to come out of it. So be careful as to when will you apply this rule of mixed supply and a composite supply. Now let us take a case of a mixed supply, which falls under the category of mixed supply under the GST Law. And they are goods. They are sale. There is no lease, there is no repair, it is a regular import. Custom fellow will do what? At the time importation of the goods, basic custom duty, he will charge. When he charges basic custom duty, he will apply what? He will apply HSL. And HSL, there is no rule called mixed supply, highest rate, etc. It has to go as the essential character or the last entry. Rule 3C. So for basic custom, we will apply a different rule. For CVD purpose, we will apply this rule. How beautiful it is. Wonderful, no? And then if that is applied properly, then you can take the credit. Now, as far as the credit is concerned, I think I should stop now because in 3 minutes I promise that people can ask questions. I never gave time, etc. So now I stop my talk. I just saw the time. I promise that I will allow the questions. I know I have not completed my syllabus. The syllabus is still there and another 10 slides here, and then I want to talk on anti-profiting for about half an hour. So I'm sorry I did not complete my syllabus. I plead guilty. And pardon, sir? Yeah, I mean, I am more than, see, I understand over a period of time, it is easy to talk, it is difficult to tolerate listening. So if we can tolerate, act of toleration of listening, I am prepared to come to, I am not, so we can cover different, but whatever I come, whenever I come, I will talk like this only. You must be ready for listening to these types of complications. But once you know these complications, simple thing becomes simple now. So I follow this way. If you can climb Everest, you can climb Aravalli. You don't have to train you for Aravalli and then say, no, climb Everest. No. Everest I will make it climb and go every week. No problem. Or run a full marathon, then 10 kilometers is nothing. So we'll that one. So I'll now stop our questions from the audience. With the installation of new rail track would fall under the category of planter machinery or removable property. What about the installation of electrification of signaling traffic equipment? Interesting question. I will have to elaborate the question because the question is cryptic. I will answer this question and we will leave the hall. No? Don't worry. No? All of you are already getting ready for your tea break and bio break. No? So, what he is asking is whether installation of a new rail track would fall under the category of planter machinery or not. Sir, why do you ask this question, sir? Why? No. Huh? GST from the passenger. So whether input tax rate will be allowed or not? So therefore, your problem is that if it is a passenger this thing, you can take input credit, but you may not be able to take the plant and machinery. Is it what you are saying? Huh? Is that the correct interpretation, sir? But I felt that capital goods also can be taken into the concession. And this becomes relevant.
Whether it is works contract or plant.
Oh, I understand. Then, now, works contract is for what? Works contract is for constructing immovable property. Correct? So therefore, rail track is immovable property or movable property is the question. Correct? So, if that is answered, everything is answered, sir. Correct, sir? So therefore, the question is not the plant and machinery. The question really is movable or immovable. Is it not? Certainly, movable goods is moving on the track, train. So there is no doubt about that. So the train per se is definitely movable. unless it moves, you cannot move. No? So it is movable. Now what about the track? Would you say it is movable or immovable? That is the question, right? So, how do you define movable or immovable? Now, where do you go? You go to what? Pardon? The definition in GST will not get it. So, you have to go to Transfer Property Act. Transfer Property Act defines what is movable, immovable. That which is permanently fixed to earth and items that are fixed permanently to item permanently fixed to earth are immovable. What does it mean? Earth, according to them, is immovable. Don't talk in the planet, earth is also moving, etc. So you forget for a moment. So earth, ground is immovable. Anything which is attached to earth for the permanent enjoyment of earth is immovable. That is why a tree is immovable. But the fruits in the tree, if you want to sell while it is hanging onto the tree, it is movable, even though it is attached to earth. In India, unlike in the case of UK, item attached to permanently to item attached to earth is also immovable. For example, in this building, the building as such is immovable because it is attached permanently to the earth. In this plot of land, for enjoyment of plot of land, this is necessary, therefore you put it here. Now this has got pillars, it has got girders. Now these girders are sitting onto the pillars. The girder is not attached to earth. The girder is attached to the pillar. The pillar is attached to the earth. They are permanently attached. So this girder permanently attached to the pillar is also permanently attached. Therefore, this is also immovable. Under the Indian law. English law is different. Let us not get into that. So therefore, attachment to the property, to the enjoyment of the property is what is called immovable. A rail track, when it is fixed, how is it fixed? Earth is excavated, you put blue metal, you put the sleepers, you put the clips, you put the parallel lines, and then fix it. But if you want to, after say 3 years, the train, super fast bullet train is running on the etc., there is a friction, therefore you have to remove it. Remove it or not? Easily, you can remove those rails and therefore, the rails per se, even though for the movement of the train it is fixed by the clips, but they are not immovable because they are movable as such. That is the question ultimately Supreme Court ultimately clarified. The movability and immovability is that for enjoyment of a capital goods a generator for working in a factory, you have to necessarily create a base of concrete. You put nuts and bolts, and then you put the generator, and then fix it tight, so that vibration free, it can work, you can enjoy. But you are enjoying it not for the generator is purpose of not enjoying the earth. Immediately accepted. It is used for creating electricity where the factory is being run. Therefore, this particular generator, even though during its operation, if it is fixed permanently to earth, its attachment to the earth is not for the enjoyment of the earth. It is enjoyment of the property itself. Therefore, they are not considered immovable, they are considered movable. Therefore, the rail will become movable. Clear problem for all? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I did not. I will do it just after. I think I must take leave now and thank all of you for bearing with me. As in Shakespeare, in As You Like It, there is a conversation between Rosalind, Celia and Dexter, where Dexter said to Rosalind, and Celia is a chatterbox. He said, it is easy to bear you than bear with you.
Thank you, sir, for such a vibrant.
You have been kind enough to bear with me, and therefore I must thank you very much for the last word.
Thank you, sir, for such a vibrant and insightful session. I am confident that audience could feel your passion and relate to the GST law. Thanks for the great insight, sir. Thank you so much. Before the next session starts, I would like to appreciate the team NatCon behind the conference, CA Prakash Sharma, Central Council Member and Chief Coordinator, CA Gautam Sharma, Chief Convener and Treasurer, CARC, CA Nikhilesh Kataria, Management Committee Member of Jaipur Branch and Convener, CA Shiv Shankar Gupta, Management Committee Member, Jaipur Branch, CA Natwar Sharda, is the man behind this record-breaking registrations, so Chairman for the Registration Committee, CA Rajneesh Singhvi for Technical Affairs and Sovereignty, CA Ajay Vijay for the wonderful musical night yesterday that we had, CA Ashok Jain for delicious food that we have been enjoying yesterday and today and would be doing in the lunch also, CA Amit Kedia for error-free backstage office, CA Mohit Gupta for the IT committee and technical issues being resolved at May I Help You, CA Rakesh Lohiya for the venue management, CA Chavi Begani for the kit that we all have, CA Kuldeep Gupta for conceptualizing the whole LED screen, and CA Ashish Sudheva for managing the same. Thank you so much. Now we will start for the next technical session. We have heard about words like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, digital trends, and we hear them very often. And sometimes it sounds like a lingo which is a complete jargon to us. And do they play a role in our profession? What is their future in our profession? To give glimpse of the same, we have amongst us CA PR Ramesh, who is Chairman of Deloitte India, who will talk about future of the future. May I welcome CA PR Ramesh, and I also invite CA Kuldeep Gupta and CA Rakesh Lohiya to present memento to our esteemed speaker. CA PR Ramesh is Chairman of Deloitte India with over 37 years of experience in profession. He has been associated with various regulatory bodies, industry bodies, ICAI boards and committees. It is our honor to have you here with us, sir. Please enlighten